Welcome, everyone, to the Montessori Family Alliance. I'm so glad that you're here today and joined us. If you have been with us before, welcome back. Glad to see you again. And if you're new, there's a couple of things I want to do. First of all, welcome. We're glad you're here today. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. You'll be surprised at how quickly 30 minutes goes when we get started talking. I want to introduce my guest today, Larry Shanker. He is the executive director of Brookview School. It's a Montessori school, Michigan. And this is his 5th year in that position. Before that, he actually was the music teacher or music director or music something. He taught the kids to sing and do instruments and probably dance and all kinds of stuff. Since 1998, he's been at Brookview. So that's a long time to be at one school. I know that because I was at Newgate School. I started there in 1990 and as a 3 to 6 teacher. So and I'm still on their board of directors. So I guess I'm still there, sort of. Anyways, Larry, we are so glad that you're here with us today. Your perspective is going to be a new one for many people because you're a dad of a young lady now who went all the way through Montessori High School. So we'd love to hear your story and your feelings about, why you kept her in Montessori and how that all worked out for all of you and your family and all kinds of things. So Larry, why don't you go ahead and start telling us your story and we'll see what we can see.
Okay. Well, let's see. It all started when my daughter was 2.5. And my wife, Jenny, had this idea that maybe something different would be really good for this wonderful child. And we went to Brookview Montessori School. At the time, it was probably called something different. We've had several names: Brookview School, Brookview, an independent Montessori community, but it was basically the same place. And I went and had a tour from a wonderful woman named Sunita Prakash, who was the head of school at the time. And she, I was very moved by the whole Montessori thing. And she said we could use some help with music. And what started as a kind of a one afternoon a week kind of thing gradually blossomed into, a much larger music program. And at the same time, my daughter Gwen started in the toddler room, and it was a really great fit for her. And, not that we're surprised, because 20 years later, we know it's a great fit for everybody. But so at that point, Gwen and I kind of started the Montessori journey together, and we would drive to school together every day.
Yeah.
And that went on for a great many years until she was in 9th grade. She actually stayed at Brookview through 9th grade. We only had a 7th and 8th grade program, but some of us stubborn parents really insisted on an extra year. And then Gwen went on to the Montessori High School in Cleveland for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And she had a really terrific experience there. We never thought we would do something like a boarding school.
I was just going to ask, is that a boarding school, right?
Yeah, but 2 other students from Brookview were going there. We're going off to go there at the same time. One was Tanya Reiskin's daughter, and who's part of your Montessori Foundation family, and they all had a great time together. It's sadly that school is not happening at this point in
Oh,
time,
that is
but
so.
she sure had a great time there, and I feel like we really were a part of the discovery of that school, and it's done wonderful things for Gwen. So that's our whole Montessori history. So I really approached it all like a dad
Hmm.
and a Montessori.
Right, right. Well, I have to ask you a question. You didn't go into it as a Montessorian. You kind of felt it in your heart when you went there, and you went as a music teacher and a parent. Um, did you and your wife ever have to struggle with deciding whether or not to keep her, like when she got to kindergarten and then, the next step was the lower elementary? Did you struggle with that, or was it just something you just knew in your heart was the right thing, or how did you do that?
Never had a hesitation of whether
Wow.
to stay in the program. It was magical from the very beginning. I'm kind of glad you're asking the question because, as an executive director, I'm speaking to parents on tours, and then as
Sure.
we go into re enrollment season, I know a lot of parents go through that.
Yeah.
And I always share my thoughts, but I have to check myself because I have to honor a parent's own feelings. And what I feel like saying is, are you kidding me? How could there be anything better than staying at Brook? There's always considerations, financial considerations, and the like that enter into the situation. But no, we never hesitated to go program by program. And when it became time for middle school and high school, the feeling was always, we've invested all this in Montessori. Do we now have to take that hard right and go
Yeah.
into traditional education?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. I'm traditionally educated, but that in particularly was not a draw for me.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question that, as head of Newgate School, which I was for a long time, um, the question that I ask parents or I used to ask parents when they came to open house, and even if they had a little tiny one, 18 months old or even a baby, I would say, now, you know, I know this might be a hard question, especially since your child is so, so young, but I want you to imagine for a moment that your child, that baby that you have in your arms, is no longer a baby, but is 18 years old and has gone through school, whatever school that she or he goes through, and is now ready to go off into the world and maybe go to college, maybe travel, maybe start a business, but they're ready to move off into a new part of their lives. What would you wish that your child would have been supported in and become, in terms of their character and their way of looking at the world and life? So, and then I would have the mom and the dad not together. They each had their own separate turn to say what they wanted their child to get out of their education. So, Larry, what did you want your child to get out of her education? Because I think that will give us a lot of insight as to why you kept her in Montessori. So go ahead.
Oh, wow, what a great question. I'm so glad that this is being recorded because I want what you just said on record because that sounds like a great thing to ask parents. I wanted my daughter's uniqueness as an individual to be honored.
Mm,
I
yes.
wanted the fact that she's Gwen Schenker to be honored, and it was the whole way. And that has to do both with levels of intelligence. You want that honored, but it has a lot to do with character and
Hmm.
the type of person she is. And I feel like every step of the way, who she is as an individual was honored, be it her stresses, or her
Hmm.
state, you know, the whole step of the way. What else did I want? I wanted her to be able to find her own passions.
Hmm.
I wanted her to be able to find the things she truly loved to do.
Hmm.
It was important to me for her to be in situations where she didn't have to imitate what was cool.
Right, right.
Kids, always some of that, you know, but they learn to deal with that and learn to be themselves. And it's kind of cool that in Montessori, what's cool is being nice to people and being
Yeah,
kind to people.
yeah. Yeah. So as a parent, well, Gwen is now in college, is she, or is she out of college?
She's out. She's 24, almost 25. She has a job in Boston she likes and is working at.
Nice, nice. Um, so do you feel like, because I think this is something that parents sometimes worry about and question sometimes when they're thinking about high school, do you think that she was academically prepared for the next steps that she took in her life?
Very much so. Very much so. I feel like Montessori really gave her the tools she needed. Gwen was always a shy person,
Hmm.
yet in college, she was the person in the professor's office during office hours asking the questions, finding out what she needed to know. She was the person too in the dorm. I remember a picture on Facebook of post-it notes all over the wall with the post said everything I need to know about physics or something like that. She used her own unique ways of learning. When I would see a list, we peek at their lists on the table or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they're home from college, it looked like her work plan in lower elementary.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I feel like she has so much organization,
Mm.
so much of an ability to organize her work.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't feel like it came from me. She really knows how to get the work done.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that. And I'm happy. I'm proud of Montessori for helping her create that. If she has something to write, I mean, she's basically a writer type
Mm.
person. And to this day, I'm a writer. I could sit down and write a piece of music like nobody's business. But if I have to write prose, it's like, oh,
Mm.
okay, now I got to get started. How could I
Yeah,
distract myself? And I feel like my daughter just hops into it. It's
yeah.
work, just like I tell parents on tours. We want work to be something joyous. I feel like that's what my daughter got out of Montessori.
Oh, that's so terrific. I had a thought, and I think it's gone. So I'll see if I have another thought.
Mhm.
um, yeah, Newgate, where I'm on the board of directors now, is a school that goes through high school, a Montessori school that goes through high school. And my two children went to Newgate when they were little,
Mhm.
and I always wanted them to graduate from Newgate School. There was a whole group of parents, and I was one of them, even though I was a teacher and then associate head of school there. But I was also a parent there, and we really wanted it to go through high school. When we got there, when my family got there, they only had lower L. They just had primary and lower L, and they were just starting an upper L. So my daughter was 3 and my son was 6 when we got there. And I always wanted them to be able to graduate from Newgate, but we couldn't grow the school as fast as my children were growing. So my daughter actually went through 6th grade, no, 8th grade at Newgate, and my son went through 6th grade at Newgate. because he's older, and so they didn't have as many grades when he went through. Um, but I really owe, all that they are, other than genetically, of course, but
Mhm.
um, to Montessori. Even though they had to go to other schools, we didn't have. I didn't do the boarding school thing. It never even crossed my mind to do that. So they went to local schools, but they both do very well. And they had those characteristics that you're talking about with Gwen. That whole idea of organizing themselves, about seeing systems, about following through with things, about asking questions when you need answers. Go ask the question. Don't be afraid because it's a grown up. That wasn't how school was. It was the teachers and the students worked together to figure things out, and every question was a good question, you know. um, and so I think that children really do get so much of that, and parents are so concerned about what we now call executive functioning, right?
Right,
That's the big uh, thing that people talk about a lot, and that is exactly what you just talked about with Gwen, and what I'm talking about with my own two children, who went through quite a bit of Montessori, but not all the way through high school. So, what? Oh, I know one thing that we were going to talk in our last few minutes or so. We can talk about how we feel like Montessori has been helpful to our children now in the situation that our world is in with this pandemic that we have. So, Larry, you want to talk about that for a minute or two?
sure. Um, yeah, what of course, we're all blazing new territory as
Hmm.
fast as we can, and getting a lot of help from the Montessori Foundation, frankly,
Oh, thank you.
in
Yeah.
terms of information, in
Mm.
terms of support. Um, and what I realized quickly is that if we have to go through this pandemic crisis that none of us could have expected, predicted, or want to go through, I'm
Right.
so glad we're a Montessori school, and I'm trying to give the parents at our school confidence that the kids know how to learn, you know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we're putting distance learning in place. It will only grow and get better because we're blazing new territory, but our kids know how to work independently. Now flip to the other side. We're speaking as a dad, and
Yeah.
um, there are probably a lots of moms and dads at
Mm.
home who are not used to being home and not used to keeping an eye on their children, and it's hard. I don't want to be stereotypical because families come in all shapes and sizes, but
Yes.
but speaking as a dad, I think dads are probably a little afraid to say no, a
Mm.
little a little apprehensive to say you could do your work right now, and I'm going to do my work because the kids are capable of doing that if
Mhm.
they have the tools to do it. A dad asked me yesterday, actually, you wrote in an email that we shouldn't use screen time as a reward. He's a very honest person.
Yeah.
And he said, I've kind of caught myself doing that. How do I stop? And he said, because he does the work really quickly and then he gets to use screen time. The best I could come up with is just to say to that child, hey, I want you to do the work and I want it to be work that you're proud of. To at least help the child to trigger that Montessori button that even a 5-year old child is used to by now if they've been at the school. They know that the freedom comes with responsibility, and they need to be reminded. But my heart goes out to all those moms and dads who are home right now, and they're not usually the ones who need to remind the kids of these
Yeah,
things. They
yeah.
have tons of work to do, and yeah.
We were in we started this group called the Montessori Family Support Gatherings. And
Mhm.
it's really for parents. It's free. Any parent can come. They do have to register, but I mean, they can do that. And the goal for that is to help parents through this difficult time to take care of themselves, to take care of their relationship with their parenting partner, and to take care of providing a calm, loving, fun home environment for their child. And, it is a very different situation than what our, our society and maybe even the world are used to. And it was an interesting thing. We're doing that twice a week, by the way. We're doing that open, and it began as open forum because we wanted to hear from parents. What would you like to get from us? And but now we're past that phase of it, and now we're into more topics because we've gleaned them from what the parents were saying to us. And so we are on Mondays and Fridays. Doing 45-minute live Zoom chats. We've usually had somewhere between 50 and 100 parents show up at these chats. And so we have a good one this Friday coming. Jonathan Wolf, some of you may know him or have heard of him. He's actually going to be the main topic presenter for Friday's workshop. And then, so part of it is John will be covering a topic, which happens to be language and how we speak with love and respect to our children. And so he's going to do about an 18-minute little talk about that. Then about 15 minutes is really for the parents to talk with us, give us feedback, tell us what they're thinking, what they'd like to hear about, and that kind of thing. So it's really partially a topic and partially an open forum. And we're very excited about it. And I can send you the link to that if I haven't already. And by the way, anybody can find that, the link to that on Facebook in the Montessori Family Alliance page. So if you just type in Montessori Family Alliance, it'll take you to our page, and there's a posting that gives you the registration site, so you can go in there and do that. So I think I went off on a little tangent there, Larry. I don't know what got me started on that one.
Because all the parents need support. I think that family support gatherings are just a really great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you went to one, didn't you?
I sure did, and
Yeah,
it's highly valuable, very
great,
valuable. Yeah,
great. Well, Larry, I would love for you to come back, and I think we already have a date for you to come back, right?
right. We're going to talk about Montessori and music. Yeah,
Montessori and music, gotta love that. I
yeah.
gotta love that.
Maybe we can get my daughter to come with me one day to talk more about Montessori education and what it meant.
I would love that.
Yeah,
She could be you said she's in Boston, right?
right. Yeah.
You could be in Boston, you could be in Michigan, and I could be in Florida, and we could all talk together.
And I think we're stuck for a while in that situation too.
I think we are. So, Larry, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to have you. I'll see you again in about a month, and we'll talk about Montessori and music,
Great.
and we'll go from there.
Thank you so much, Lorna. Great to be with you.
All right. Take good care of yourself.
You too. Take care. Thank you, everybody.